Hello, what is up everybody? I'm Tiana here once again and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next installment of the Forms of the Kirby series marathon by the Forms of Kirby Dream Land 2 for the Game Boy. This game was first released in 1995 for the Game Boy, and I believe this game came out after Kirby's Adventure and before Kirby Superstar, or in Europe, Kirby's Fun Pack for the Super Nintendo. So that digress though. So as you can see right there, that we actually come across into the file selection screen, very much like how it does it in the Kirby's Adventure game. Except the fact that we'll get into more details about the game as soon as we actually jump in, but as you can see, I play this game on my own time and I've got 43% completionist going on here. But I think I managed to able to actually erase my data so that I can able to redo the game again. But I digress, so let's get started with Kirby's Dream Land 2. And it looks like we're going on to the first world in this game by the Forms of Grassland. And as you can see, the aesthetics about this game looks almost exactly feels identical to Kirby's Adventure on the NES, except the fact that everything else is in black and white again, just like how it does in the original. However, the first thing you might actually know something is that when we get into the actual gameplay of Kirby's Dream Land 2, this game is more likely a combination of Kirby's Dream Land 1 and also Kirby's Adventure, because Kirby's Dream Land is the forms of how the fact that, well, unlike in Kirby's Adventure, that Kirby does not actually run in this game this time around. And in addition to that though, that once again you need to able to actually press the D directional pad up until you're able to fly up. So even then though, that well, but that was before when the future games usually exist, that if you manage to tap the jump button twice, then you would able to actually fly. So even then, that makes it pretty obvious but there are some slight differences. So, and aside from all that, now I say that I've already mentioned about the combination of Kirby's Adventure and Kirby's Dream Land, the first game in the series, that, since then, that, much like Kirby's Adventure, copy abilities do make a return here. Now, unlike the ones in Kirby's Adventure, there are plenty of copy abilities to use. In Kirby's Dream Land 2, only has 7 of those copy abilities, probably due to limitations of the handheld, or even especially noticeable that this is what the main gimmick of Kirby's Dream Land 2 comes into play, especially noticeable in Kirby's Dream Land 3 for the Super Nintendo, which again, we'll get to that during the likes of them in a future time. But for now, let's go ahead and finish up with the first level in this game. And as you can see at the very end, every time you reach at the very end of a level, much like how it does in Kirby's Adventure, you always have to pull up with this little platform jumping minigame at the very end. Unlike the ones in Kirby's Adventure, that I always found that minigame to be quite easy to actually rank up points, assuming if you get your timing with. Unfortunately, for that doesn't same applies for Kirby's Dream Land 2 to me though, because I always found that really hard to actually get all the way up to the top for some reason though. You need to be exactly at the right time before you're able to actually get yourselves, there are some quite a few rewards here and there, but even then though, I'll get into more details onto those until we get to the future points of the game. But for now, we got ourselves a Parasol ability, which much like how it does in Kirby's Adventure counterpart, you can still attack with this particular copy ability, and also you can able to actually use that as your glidings if you manage to go all the way down, and especially noticeable, it's pretty recommendable if you want to avoid certain hazards, which even then, you can definitely tell why until when we get to the future worlds of this game has to offer. But even then, before we get to anything else for this resistance, yeah, today was actually forms of the 17th of February, so, yeah, it's one pointing out for this today's date. So, anyway, so here's this little, mini-boss here, which even then, though, all he does is just basically trying to deal with this little fire rapid dash and all that stuff. And basically, after we kill this little, mini-boss, we're actually introduced into one of those animal friends. Because, yes, this is what the actual main gimmick, or in this case, the main mechanic of the forms of Kirby's Dream Land 2 and Kirby's Dream Land 3 in the future until the Super Nintendo game. Which, by the looks of it though, we actually introduced into Animal Friends. Now, Animal Friends is more accurately something a little bit similar to the Animal Buddies from Donkey Kong Country games, but except the fact that you can now able to actually use their specific abilities. Well, the first one we actually come across into is Rick the Hamster, which all he does is just basically he plays it almost exactly like Kirby, so he doesn't have any that much of a difference between the other animal friends, which we'll get into the future worlds throughout this game. But even then, as far as the length goes in Kirby's Dream Land 2 compared to how it does in the first game, I believe this game is going to be much longer than the ones in Kirby's Dream Land 1, because in Kirby's Dream Land, the first game, that only contains 5 levels. But in this, I believe it actually goes up to 7 worlds, excluding the final one, which I'll get into more details until we get to level 3. So yeah, as you expected though, that's how the hub world looks like in Kirby's Dream Land 2. That it feels almost exactly like how it does in Kirby's Adventure to me though. But there are major differences here, like for instance the actual hub world is a lot more smaller compared to how it does it in Kirby's Adventure, because again, due to the limitations of the handheld. And since then, yeah, that's all I can really come across to say now. And as you can tell right there, that once again we got ourselves the scoring system, much like how it does in Kirby's Dream Land and Kirby's Adventure, and as well as you got yourselves your 6 units of health, much like before. And actually, before I get into more details about this, here we are. We actually got ourselves one of the main collectibles in Kirby's Dream Land 2. This is the forms of the Rainbow Drops. The Rainbow Drops can be acted out very similar to the ones in Star Rods from Kirby's Adventure, but unlike in Kirby's Adventure for Star Rods anyway, you do manage to able to obtain one of those Star Rods after you finish the main, one of those main worlds, if you manage to defeat the boss. In this game, all you have to do is basically, when it comes to Rainbow Drops, you have to get your specific amount of, you need to get that specific copy ability, especially with the animal, friends with you. If all depends on those little situation, then you would able to actually get yourselves a Rainbow Drop just as that. There are one of those Rainbow Drops in one of those levels throughout each world, so naturally they've only got just one Rainbow Drop in some of these levels throughout in this game. But even then though, you can definitely tell why until when you get to the future worlds and onwards. So even then, because of that though, if you want to get the 100% completion of this game, before I get into this kinds of stuff actually, here we go on to the first boss in this game, which we have Wispy Woods. And as you can see, he's actually wearing something completely different, because every now and then he's going really, I'm assuming he might be illness and stuff, because he usually just spits out, you know, some of the exact same stuff again. He might be a little bit more harder compared to how he does in the first Dreamland game, and especially Kirby's Adventure especially, because these little spitting attack can be now homing directly on you, so you need to watch out for that. And much like before, that he's pathetically easy if you know what you're doing. And plus he does have a different attack this time around though, which is in forms of these little thorns come out of the ground. Now, before I get to the second world actually, jeez, we actually beat the first world for under 10 minutes. I can't believe the first world is actually really short. Even then though, that because we only got 3 main levels throughout, besides the boss. Now, the reason why I'm actually revisiting this world right here is because after when you beat the main boss for the first time around, you actually participate for the minigame challenge. Which, by the looks of it though, all you have to do is basically we need to actually obtain every single mini star collectibles. I haven't sort of mentioned about this. Every time you collect about roughly 7 of those mini stars as you collect, you actually get yourselves an extra life. So yeah, this is where before when Kirby's Dream Land 3 exists, that usually has the exact same system, and especially noticeable with Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. Ah, dang it, I was really that close. Anyway though, and yeah, every time you actually just manage to get hit by those projectiles over there, what happens was though is that the minigame door actually closes, so you have to wait until in the other time, but unfortunately I'll have to wait for it. So anyways, here we go, on to world number 2 by the forms of the Big Forest. So naturally, that we, this world kind of reminds me of almost related to the Nintendo DS game called Super Princess Peach, the world called Who's World, or Who's Wood. It kind of reminds me of that world actually, because for one thing, we're actually going to be traversing through the forest area as a result. So yeah, so that's actually pretty interesting. So, originally, that, you know that Kirby's Dream Land 2 was originally came out on the original Game Boy after all, because everything else is in black and white. Somehow, originally, they're trying to be making a, direct port of Kirby's Dream Land 2, but it forms of Kirby's Dream Land 2 DX. Very much like how it does it in, the other Game Boy game called, Metroid 2, The Return of Samus DX. But, they usually normally came out, about to be originally going to be coming out on the Game Boy Color. Unfortunately, it was due to, it was cancelled though, due to, I don't know about that, but even then, no, that's as far as I can really try to tell for that one point or another, but I digress. So here's the next, animal, friend right there. I can't exactly what the actual name of that particular, animal friend was, but even then, I'll definitely have to figure this out though, until when I get to that point, but even then, that, yeah, apparently there appear to be, 7 regular, power-ups, or in this case, copy abilities as a result. So even then, though, that, we actually got ourselves, well, as far as I can see. Anyway, though, this is, called the Owl, so even then, though, that what he can do is that you can able to actually fly with him at all times until you're able to fly anywhere else. So I think this is probably is one of my favorite animal friends, because due to how the fact that you can actually, almost skip the entire level if you're managed to able to actually, let you fly around with him, which even then, though, is actually really handy. So anyways, let's finish the main level right there, which forms of the first level in the big forest. And that was actually a really bad shot from my part. Anyway, so let's move on to level 2. Now, in level 2, it actually contains the rainbow drop, but it requires a copy ability by the forms of the needle. But I get the feeling that the needle was nowhere to be seen in this level, so I guess I have to wait until whenever I get into the 3rd level throughout, or in this case, if I get to the very end of this level right here, these little Gordos right there makes a return. So yeah, somehow that, yeah, you can actually get some extra lives by the forms of 2 different methods this time around. Those that you can either manage to obtain the regular 1-up item there, or you can potentially try to obtain 7 of those mini stars until you're able to want it to, because even then though, you can get so many lives in this game, much like how it does it in Kirby's Adventure, but except unlike in Kirby's Adventure, I don't really think there aren't any other mini games aside from, you know, the boss challenges and all that stuff, but even then though, that if I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure in order to actually get 100% complete in this game, is that not only do you need to get every single rainbow drops until you're able to get to the very end of this game, but also I think you need to able to do a successful attempt on the forms of the boss minigames themselves. So I think I might be wrong about that, or maybe it's just an optional task. But even then, though, I'll definitely have to wait. I'll definitely have to wait until when we get to that point. Because unlike the ones in the other Kirby games, that this might be actually be my first time I've ever played through Kirby's Dream Land 2. Kind of thing about it though, so I might be a little bit semi-blind about this. But anyways, now we've got the needle copy ability right now, so that means we can now able to actually stab for this little specific blocks there, and we got ourselves our rainbow drop from you know, World 2. Luckily, like the ones in Kirby's Adventure, that if you manage to activate one of those secret buttons on the forms of you know, Kirby's Adventure, when you're able to actually activate one, and you can just simply able to actually quit the level until you get to the pause menu. Thankfully, this game does have the exact same system where if you manage to able to obtain the rainbow drop, and if you manage to obtain that, you'll be kept in it forever. So yeah, it's a good thing that you would able to still keep that, as long as you're able to actually just either, you know, quit the stage by the forms of the pause menu, or simply complete the level normally. So that's pretty handy though. So anyways, oh yeah, I totally forgot about this little combination powers between the animal friends, and especially with the copy abilities themselves. Normally, as you can see right there, we actually got ourselves a Parasol copy ability right here, in addition to Koto the Owl with us by the forms of the animal friend's companion. What he was trying to do here is the fact that you can able to actually do a little bit of a twirling ability, and thankfully you become invisible for quite a few seconds notice. So that way you don't have to worry about just getting hit by anything, besides if it tires you out. So even then, that, yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. So, but even then, though, until when it gets to the point until Kirby's Dream Land 3 for the Super Nintendo, that it actually starts expanding upon the Animal Friend system. But even then, though, that in this game it only has like 3 in total when it comes to these animal friends, but until when it gets to Kirby's Dream Land 3, that gets even more animal friends there. So yeah. Oh, what's this right here? That, my friends, is actually forms of how the fact that this is when Kirby's Dream Land 3 exists. This guy was actually known as Gooey, which by the looks of it though, that well, depends on what different types of slimes you can get. Depends on what price you can get. If you manage to get a Gooey right there from Kirby's Dream Land 3, this way it actually gives you a little bit of a health. And I believe if you manage to get yourselves a Choo-Choo, by the forms of the nice slime price, Duo actually gives you a 1-up, which even then, sometimes it might be a little bit rare to get, but even then, it might be seems a little bit too much, you know, kind of random though. But it's pretty nice to actually worth it though. Jeez, I'm actually breezing for those 2 worlds so fast. But again, this is probably due to how the fact that this is the very beginning of the game after all. So even then though, that, again, it gets even a little bit more longer compared to how it does it in the first Dreamland game. And especially with, well, not so much for Kirby's Adventure, because in Kirby's Adventure it only has like 8 main worlds. Well, 7 main worlds throughout. But yeah, that's besides the point for this point though, right here. So anyways, folks, here's the second boss in this game, by the forms of this particular arena itself. Looks very much almost exactly similar to the ones in, you know, the battle against with Lo and La battle from the forms of, you know, the original Kirby's Dream Land, by the forms of how the fact that we got ourselves a different boss replacement, which even then though, I'm not exactly sure what this boss's actually name was, but even then I'll definitely have to look things up. By the looks of it though, it might be something related to, Neref, which even then though, that might be something a little bit more likely a hedgehog, or in this case, a little bit more like a porcupine enemy or something like that. Although I may be wrong about that, but even then though, that, what he does is that he feels exactly like how it does it in, the likes of, you know, Lo and La for quite a bit, except the fact that, this time around though, is that, Neref actually got himself his companions with him by the forms of Nellas, or Nellies, rather, which is basically a smaller variation of this particular boss itself. Except the fact that, what makes this boss a little bit more harder compared to how it does it in Lo and La from the original Kirby's Dream Land 1, to how the fact that he sometimes moves around all over the place, and sometimes that, you might accidentally run into him so easily if you're not careful enough, which even then though, that may seems happen to me right here. And sometimes he does have his different random patterns here and there too, which even then, yeah, that happens right here. So unfortunately, I might as well able to die right here, but as long as I'm able to actually get ourselves a lucky shot like I did right there, and boom, World 2 is fully completed. In addition to the raindrop, or the rainbow drop, rather, has already been obtained on the second level. And there we go, folks. 2 worlds has already been completed on the forms of the first episode of this Let's Play. But before I end things off at this point, I'm actually going to be anticipating for the bonus challenges between, for this world, and especially noticeable in the first world as well, because I've accidentally failed on the first attempt on the forms of, you know, the Grasslands bonus challenge. But in this bonus challenge, all you have to do is basically we need to configure out the different layouts between if the stars are about to be moving in different positions and all that stuff. Be very careful right there, because if you manage to get hit by these little Nellies enemies right there, you'll be automatically out. So yeah, that's all I can really talk about. And if you manage to get yourselves a perfect by the forms of this particular challenge here, you manage to get yourselves an additional extra life. So there's quite a lot of ways you can able to actually obtain extra lives from in this game, which even then though, that might be seems illogical side of things, but hey, at least it's pretty cool. Alright, now time for a second attempt on this particular minigame challenge. Come on then, Wispy Words, show me what you got for actually just decide to took out every single mini stars and all that stuff. Did I say mini stars? I might be thinking of Mario Party 9 and 10 for some reason. Or in this case, Mario Party Island Tour, and especially with Mario Party the Top 100, because in Mario Party the Top 100 for the minigame Island, if you manage to obtain Depends on what position you're in. You get mini stars after completing those specific mini games, which that may seems the case. So anyway, come on, just only a few more stars left. I believe one more will do. Oh wait, there's actually one more. Oh, thank God, I did manage to obtain that by effortlessly, so I've got it perfect. And believe it or not, folks, I think I'm pretty much gonna have to stop things from right here, so tune me next time on Let's Play Kirby Dream Land 2 for the Game Boy. It's the fact that we're going to be moving on to the third world, so see you guys then. Later, fellas.